Someone is coming over in 20 minutes, and you are standing at the shelf with a record in your hand. It is a good record. You are also aware, in a small and faintly sickening way, that you are not choosing it for the next 40 minutes of sound, but for the sentence it will say about you when they walk through the door, and when you try to pull those two reasons apart, you cannot. You have owned this record for years. You have loved it, or you have done whatever it is you have been doing with it. What you cannot prove, even alone, even now, is that the loving and the being, a person who loves. It were ever two separate things. A book sits on your bedside table, and you are 40 pages in, and you are bored. You will finish it. Ask yourself why, honestly, and the answer has almost nothing to do with the book. It is not that page 41 will rescue it. It is that there is a version of you who finishes this book, and you would like to remain on speaking terms with him. Under the record, and the book is a question that will not resolve. Is there a real preference in there, sitting beneath the performed one the way a stone sits under moving water? Or does the performance go all the way down? Most people meet this question for half a second, feel the floor tilt, and look away. Stay in it a little longer. The vertigo is where the interesting thing is. Rene Girard built his life's work on one unsettling claim. You do not want things directly. Desire, he said, is borrowed. It travels through a model, someone whose wanting taught you what was worth wanting, and you copy their desire the way you copied their vowels as a child. Trace any of your tastes back far enough, and you rarely arrive at a pure encounter between you and the object. You arrive at a person, a friend who played you that record at 19 with an expression you wanted to be capable of. Girard's point is not that you are a fraud. It is that the wanting was never yours alone to begin with, so the search for the uncontaminated version of it is a search for something that never existed. Pierre Bourdieu went further and colder. He spent years showing that taste is not a private garden but a map, and that the map shows where you came from and where you would like to be seen going. The music, the food, the films, the way you hold a wine glass or refuse to, these sort people more ruthlessly than income does, and they do it quietly, while feeling like the most intimate thing you own. What you call your sensibility was largely deposited in you by a school, a family, a set of rooms you happened to grow up inside. Your pleasures are the part of you that you believe no one assigned, and they are legible to a stranger in about 4 minutes. The floor drops one more time when you notice that wanting your taste to be authentic is itself a position. The person who is troubled by performance, who longs for a pleasure untouched by the eyes of others, is a recognizable type with a recognizable history, and he flatters himself with exactly this trouble. Your suspicion of the pose is a pose. The audit eats itself. There is no vantage point outside the game from which you get to conduct the inspection, because the inspector was also assembled. Cynicism arrives at precisely this moment, and it arrives with relief in its hands. It tells you that nothing is real, everyone is posturing, and you may therefore stop caring. Notice what that offer actually buys you. It buys immunity. If nothing is genuinely liked, you can never be caught liking the wrong thing, never be caught liking something too much, never stand in a room and be seen wanting. Cynicism is not the end of the performance. It is the performance that costs the least. Something duller and more useful is available to you. Ask what you return to when there is no possibility of being seen. Not what you would list, not what you would say at dinner. The song you have played 11 times in the car with nobody in it. The chapter you have reread without telling anyone. The evidence is almost always unimpressive, slightly embarrassing, and completely uninteresting to anyone else, and that is exactly why it is worth something. Even that test does not reach bedrock. You are never quite unobserved. You carry a spectator with you into empty rooms, some composite figure made of everyone whose good opinion has ever mattered, and you perform for him too, in the car, at 2 in the morning, with the door locked. So there is no clean floor, no final chamber where the true preferences are kept. Keep going down and you find more audience. Iris Murdoch described standing at a window in an anxious, resentful mood, brooding on some injury to her pride, and then seeing a kestrel hover. In that instant, the brooding is gone. The wounded self, so loud a second earlier, simply is not there. Nothing remains but the bird. She called this unselfing, and she thought it was the closest thing we have to goodness, attention so complete that the person doing the attending drops out of the picture. What matters here is that she is not describing a preference. She is describing a state. You do not own the kestrel. You were not, for those few seconds, anybody at all. The mistake was in the shape of the question. You were hunting for a hidden object, a pearl of real taste buried under the silt of everything you absorbed, and there is no pearl. What is actually down there is time. Hours you gave to a thing without being paid in status for them. The question is not, what do you like, which will always give a compromised and self-flattering answer. The question is, where does your attention go when you forget to supervise it, and how often, and for how long? You did not invent a single word of the language you are thinking in right now. Every one of them was handed to you by people who had their own reasons, their own accents, their own class and country and century. It is borrowed to the last syllable, and it is still the medium in which you have said the truest thing you have ever said to another person. Taste works the same way. Assembled from the outside in, and yours anyway. The performance really does go all the way down, and you can live a full life inside it because a thing does not have to be uncaused to be real. Put the book down at page 40. Not because quitting is authentic and finishing is vanity, but because pretending your attention is somewhere it is not is the only lie in this that costs you anything. Play the record you were going to play. Enjoy it, and enjoy being the person who plays it, and stop demanding that these come apart, because they never will. Then, some evening when no one is arriving, notice the thing you keep returning to for no credit at all. That is not your true self revealed. It is just where you are alive. That is enough to go on. If this gave you something to sit with, that is what this channel is for. Small shifts in how you see your own life. I will see you in the next one.